welcome back to the Outcast Intellectual Podcast. Today, I'm talking about how most people want to basically just return to the womb. It's an exaggeration, obviously, but in certain other ways, it's not. And the thing I really wanted to focus on today was not only why that's pointless, but how it also literally undoes itself by making everything less comfortable than it already was, and just kind of how it exposes the nature of like maturity and growth and such, not just being this gradual thing that just happens as time goes on. So with that, I at least, Krish, will start talking about this stuff. So what does the whole wanting to crawl back into the womb thing mean? Well, you think about it. Before you were born, you had no worries, no considerations, nothing. You weren't even conscious. I mean, hell, you weren't probably conscious for several years after you were born. But the point being is that there were no concerns to be had. It was no, you didn't even need to feed or drink anything specific. You should have literally just got everything you needed. And even the gross stuff was ultimately recycled for you. So it's you literally had no concerns at all. But you also had no power, no control whatsoever. I mean, I don't even think you're not even breathing at that point. All of the oxygen is just coming to you, which is actually kind of interesting, but also gross. Anyway, point being is that, sorry, I just want to make sure that I have this up. All right. So because most people are very comfort focused, they want the easy way, they want something that doesn't hurt, they want something that doesn't make them go outside their comfort zone, and so on and so on. They just ultimately end up either staying where they are or regressing. And the thing about it is, when you seek to be comfortable your whole life and seek the easy way out, you necessarily cut corners, you necessarily take shortcuts and such, you're lazy, you always do the bare minimum, and that means that you're always one tiny little factor away from things falling apart. Because people who are obsessed with comfort, and granted there is a spectrum for this, so it's, for example, you could be focused on comfort but make a decent income and want to save up your the amount of money that you make so that you would have a financial cushion. There are people who can be like that, but for the vast majority of people, a lot of that comfort seeking doesn't actually help them out. It doesn't build any real walls around them. It just helps them not have to mentally directly address or emotionally address what is going on. And by doing that, they experience the, what do I make something a delusion versus illusion? They get to experience it as if it was not a problem. A big aspect of this is alcoholism, taking drugs and such, in order to artificially experience the sense of everything is fine, or at least to not feel bad about it all. And sorry, I'm just calling Christian idiot because he's late. And it just ultimately creates a situation that perpetuates its own pain and discomfort and struggle. Because as you're numbing yourself or doing whatever you're doing that makes you feel better, you're getting worse. And that actually ties into It's a larger concept, but it's actually one that's really critical to how I approach things, and I think it's just generally useful in general. Generally useful in general. I have vocabulary, which is, and I think I mentioned that in other sessions too, but it's feel better versus be better. And I mean, obviously, one could explain things deeper, but it also is kind of obvious what it means. That feel betters do their things to feel better, be betters do things to be better. And the kind of funny thing about it is that be betters still want to feel better, but they can't lie to themselves in order to do that. They need the actual circumstances around them or within them, whatever, to reflect a real situation where they can be proud and happy and all that other stuff naturally, versus a feel better who doesn't care if it's real. They don't care if they've achieved something. They don't care if it's this or that. They just want to do whatever. So an example of being a be better would be to to exercise regularly so you can feel positive about your body. A feel better would be to just drink and comfort, eat, etc. They know that they're in horrible shape, but those little hits make them feel like that's not the case. Is he? Oh, okay. Supposedly Krish's internet was messed up. I don't know. Should we believe him? Great shirt. I agree, Rebecca. Great. Oh, right. I thought you just had a typo. But yes, it is a great shirt. And I don't think it's I think it's I don't know. It's weird because Zoom mirrors it, but Facebook unmirrors it. So maybe it's mirrored then mirrored. I don't know. Well, look who it is. Oh, he hasn't even shown up yet. Whatever. So as Krish is loading up, I guess, another example of being the be better versus the feel better would be, no, I'm already talking, dude. You don't get to cut me off. Another example of being be better versus the feel better would be, no, I'm already talking, dude. You don't get to cut me off. If you have Facebook open, it's probably like a whatever. I don't know. See, Chris has been here for 10 fucking seconds. So he's already fucking it up. Anyway, point being, no, I'm joking. Another example of the be better aspect would be you want your life to be better, like you want cool stuff, you want like an awesome house, etc. And so you earn the income and such where you can have that in real life. Whereas the feel better aspect would be to just, I don't know, play Grand Theft Auto or Skyrim or something like that. Now you can balance this stuff out. It's not like you can never game or can never drink or can never eat something and feel better about it. It's just, what are you spending most of your time on? Just like, I forget exactly how the expression goes, but eating a slice of cake won't make you fat. Working out a single time won't put you in shape. It works the same way. And Krish, I basically just mentioned like what the whole wanting to like crawl back into the whole womb thing like means, like what it represents and how it basically just makes your life harder by trying to make things easier, just to
Right.
catch you up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I do believe in like actually, going through all that stuff, going through the hardships in life. Like, nothing can ever really get anything without really working hard for it, right? Like I said, like before I got in shape, got back in shape. At first it was hard, like sticking to my diet, sticking to my routine for 23 days, 24 days to a month. It was hectic to say the least. Like I needed to switch up a lot of things that I do in my life, or maybe switch up like the stuff that I have in the fridge. Right, but yeah, I think point being is that, there's a lot of reasons that people throw out there. And I, for one, believe that, being able to just embrace life as it is and have like develop that mettle to just take it on head front is something, a trait that everyone should strive to have. I mean, like, I think there's this saying even that really rings true to that. John F. Kennedy's. You know that? I think it goes, pray not for easy lives, pray to be stronger men, or somewhere along those lines.
Okay. Yeah, I remember something similar, but I'm not gonna try to remember it because I'm gonna fail. But it was like we do these things not because they're easy, but because they are hard, or something like that. I wasn't around them, I don't remember. But Bruce Lee said something similar, which was to don't pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. And it all comes back to the same thing, where it's to ultimately to be a feel better, you are asking the world to change, where you rely on the external world to provide your strength, comfort, etc. Whereas being the be better in this case is you are becoming stronger. You are taking responsibility for being the person who creates that situation that you desire. And that is ultimately why the whole, you know, approach of seeking comfort, seeking the easy way out of never wanting to really risk things is ultimately the biggest risk of all. And not just because
Yeah,
you miss out on so many things, but because you literally keep creating the situation. I kind of touched on it before. Uh, by always doing the bare minimum or always living from like that anxious attitude, you are always one step away from everything just being a huge explosion. It's like when you go to like certain countries and you're driving along and it's like on the side of a mountain and you have like, how like 10 feet wide on either side, no guardrail, and literally you're just one little like steering wheel yank away from just going down and dying. Like that is literally the situation
right,
people create for themselves because they didn't want to pay the 450 toll to just take the normal road. They wanted to go around and not have to pay for anything. So
right.
yeah.
And I think there's this thing I just thought about. It's occurred to me actually now that we're talking about it. It's like, when you're always going to be taking the easy route, things will get harder eventually.
Yeah.
Don't you think? It's like, and vice versa too, right? If you take the hard part first, the rest becomes easier. Like, I guess I could like put in the example with uh working out. By the time we started working out, yeah, it was
Out.
hard. Yeah, it
Because you
was
have time
hard,
to
like
clean, you have time to
sticking to the
clean.
diet, it's a routine, right? Right, but then like later on, it just felt second nature that, oh, it's 5 o'clock, it's 5 p.m. I gotta start working out now. Oh, it's 6 p.m. I gotta go on that walk that I
Mm.
take every single day, right? And then I remember, yeah, it was at first it was hard, but then later on, as it started uh getting more frequent and instilled in my routine, it became harder for me to drop it, right? Like I
Mm.
was itching. Like every single time I'd stop working out, I was itching and also guilty because I didn't give myself time to work out, right? And I guess in contrast too, like on the flip side, right? If you are always used to things being easy for you, by the time something hard hits you, it will hit 10 times harder than the guy who's like, all conditioned with the hardships in life, right?
And if you have
What do you
time
think?
to jerk, you have time to work.
I'm pretty sure you've been waiting to say that since earlier. The moment I said working
For
out,
the last 2 minutes, not the whole
the
time.
last 2 minutes. Not that far.
If you have
Not
time
that
to
not too
jerk, you
long
have time
ago.
to be quick. I'm not about, I don't support the whole like pointless inclusion thing, but I don't want to ostracize people by only talking about people who can jerk. So, there you go. There's the flick. Um, but jokes aside, like it does what you mentioned about uh, how it becomes easier. I mean, ultimately, that's a habit, right? And it's just the nature of you. It's like running around in circles. I don't know if you ever had. Um, this works. So when I was young, I had like a dog who, during the day, we would uh, have her like chained to the doghouse just because we lived in the country, and if a dog was just wandering around, like people drive way too fast, she could have gotten hit. But she could travel around the doghouse. So she had like a full, 360. And with time, because she was always wandering around and looking here and looking there and smelling stuff, the grass around there got worn down because she was going around and around and around and around. And the chain was just like tearing up the grass, which is whatever. But the point is that the more you do this stuff, the more inclined you are towards doing it, even when you don't want to. Like when it's working out, obviously you want to, but when it's the stuff you hate, it actually it's no matter how much you hate it or how much you realize you shouldn't be doing it, it becomes harder to not do because everything is a trigger for it, which is why the biggest excuse people tell themselves to continue staying comfortable is it'll be easier tomorrow. Today it's just, it's not the right time. Dude, the number of times I've heard people say that, it's like, oh, well, we'll get to that bridge when we come to it. Or it's, it just wasn't our time to do this. Like, no, you're just saying it's not the time yet, because if it's tomorrow, it'll always be tomorrow. So on the one end, it's a way for people to forestall actually having to do anything because tomorrow never comes. And at the same time, the more times you take this course of action, the more inclined you are towards doing it, which means that not only are you making excuses about not starting today and you don't want to start tomorrow, but even if you do start tomorrow, which would be, my tomorrow would be your today, you would, hey man, you're the one who makes that joke all the time. It's actually going to be harder because you did this today. And people just don't think about that because people who are fear based, which is where the desire for comfort comes from, is they always live in the present. It's because they're basically like a mouse, you know?
Right. I guess going back to that point where you say if you do it over and over again, it becomes a force of habit, right? I remembered like there was this time when I'd always procrastinate. I'd always procrastinate all the things I do, especially the hard stuff that I needed to get done, right? The harder it was for me to like get over, the more I'd procrastinate on it. And then there's this like mindset shift that I made for myself that okay, so if there's a hard task at hand, I'll do that first before the rest. I'll look for that, I'll look for that hard objective, hard task that I need to get done, whatever that is, and just do it. Just finish it. Just
Yeah,
do
same as
it,
starting a
man.
workout by doing like the heaviest like compound lifts and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. And then what I noticed is that my mind started looking for those hard tasks.
Mm-hmm.
It started like looking for the challenge. It started like, it did like this tweak. I don't even know how it happened, but all of a sudden I was looking to finish the hard tasks first, ASAP.
Where the mind flows, the energy goes, or other way,
Yeah.
however you say it
And
properly.
yeah, and then yeah, it does ring true to also like, developing the habit to just do to just start doing something over and over again. It just becomes like, natural to you. And it also like I guess it also takes into effect to that mindset or notion where you also can actually hack your mind to look for those hard things to make it easier for you in return, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to where the intent comes from again, because I don't know if you were on the call when I said it, but ultimately, be better people who are be betters do want to feel better. They just can't stand to feel better if it's an illusion. So
Mm,
if they do feel better, they will feel guilty because until they feel better because things are better, because they made the situation better, they will know that it's a lie and they won't really get to experience that ignorant, like the bliss of it.
the bliss
And
of it, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
why uh, it's another reason why people who are be betters have such a hard time just tolerating feel betters because as the be better, particularly if you have any awareness, you know what they're doing. You know what it's going to lead to. And the fact that they won't listen to you when all you want to do is point out this is all you have to do to make things actually better so you can really feel better, it's maddening. And of
Of
course,
course.
because those people are deluding themselves into just feeling better rather than taking responsibility for making things be better in their lives, you end up being the bad person because if you're not the bad
Yeah.
person for making that suggestion, then that means you could have a point. It means you care, and it means that that has value, and it means that they're the ones doing the wrong thing, and they know it, which is why they won't, even if they're
They won't
stupid
tolerate
on the
it. It's like,
surface, yeah, they won't admit
yeah,
it.
yeah, they don't want to admit it. I guess I know I hate to say, I know you hate to hear the word toxic, but yeah,
Because it's
toxic
fucking
positivity.
overused.
Toxic positivity. Like you just like, even if things aren't going well, you just shut the stuff that's not going well off and just focus on stuff that is, even if you have like a whole heap of like, shit behind your back. Like that meme in SpongeBob where I think it was SpongeBob that like ripped this wallpaper and there were like garbage inside
I
his
don't watch
house. I'm
SpongeBob.
not sure.
Not
No,
lame.
it was a meme. It's a meme
Oh,
template. It's a
okay.
meme template. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that ultimately it's just a veneer. It's like saying, oh, like I have a brick house. Like, no, dude, you have a brick veneer on the front to make it look like a brick house, and it's not made of brick. That'd be literally uh, like taking a turd and just encasing it in gold. Like it's not, you don't have gold that's
It's still
shaped
a
like
third.
that. You just have gold
Yeah.
encasing it. And it's not even usually all the way around. But again, that comes back to them just trying to give off the impression of it that's only skin deep, because that's
Mhm.
only as deep as they want to go when it comes
Mhm.
to making things better. And ultimately it comes back to, and it's kind of a perfect example too, because if you think of about like kids doing chores like cleaning up their room and stuff like that, they will spend half an hour finding the most clever way to not do it when they
Yeah.
could do it in 5 minutes and it'd be done, but they would rather just cram everything under their bed or behind the door or in the closet or some other place that is like you're going to look you're going to look there. It's you'd think that kids would be smarter these days, but in a lot of ways they're just not. And what happens? The adult checks it out, like, well, you didn't clean up, you just tried hiding everything, do it again. That's that's probably the best example of it because it is just so like low impact and low consequence, but it's also so petty and so easy to avoid that it exposes the ridiculousness of people coming from that comfort focused mindset. Because again, you could easily get the real result probably quicker with the same or less effort, but instead you just keep doing the same stupid thing over and over again, expecting everybody to just not notice something incredibly obvious. And then when they do point it out, you're like, yeah, it's like you're the fucking idiot who decided to fuck around with it. All you needed to do was actually do it. You
Do
know,
it.
and if you think about it, do it. That's basically what most people are, is children. For whatever reason, people like pretending that getting older means you get more mature. Anybody who pays attention knows that that is bullshit. And if anything, they're like people who are like 60 plus are very one way or the other. They're either very wise, they're very fucking stupid and acting like a teenager, but with, less memory and they can barely move. You know what I mean? And they're more, more irritable than ever. But they're still thinking like kids. And I mean, that's ultimately what a lot of it comes down to, because they're still seeking comfort and they still have no power because that's their goal. They're still dependent on everybody else to give them the means to be comfortable, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That is true. Right. And hmm, speaking of which, like aging, where you said that again, there's like two sides of it, right? They either become that person's like super irritable, super like super annoying to deal with. They just rant about stuff, or they could be the person who just like, oh, why isn't all that? I think like I what I'm trying to say is that it just goes to show how conditioning yourself to do these things, how far will take you in life, right? Like you said, right? I mean, I myself, I know a couple of people who are like probably 10 years older than me who still don't know what the hell they're doing or still don't like actually feel like they're in control of their life or who just complains. He just complains a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. Right. And like in most parts, when I think about it, like the stuff they complain about is like not even something worth complaining.
Mm.
Like then get a job, something like that. Like, okay, so you're not meeting your, making your ends meet, get a job. Or, uh, you think that every child is like stupid and hard to deal with, where in fact, yeah, they are like that. And it's your responsibility, I would say, or maybe it's in your position, at least you're in a good position to just understand them rather than hate them,
Mm.
right? And I think like, man, hate to like, compare with some people. Let's say like my brother, right? Like my brother's like 4 years older than me.
There you go.
But then through as per my sisters and my brothers, my little brother opinion, right? They'd say that I am like 10 years more mature than him,
Yeah, you're the big
right?
brother, even if you're not the
Yeah,
oldest.
I'm the big brother in my family. Like my parents, they trust me more with a whole lot of responsibility. Like just recently, I paid for my sister's tuition and like also like actually paid for some of the payroll in our business because like we were falling short. There weren't just much students coming in, right?
You're never gonna have
And
any
then yeah,
money.
my
Yeah,
what's
please.
that?
I said you're never gonna have any money because you keep giving it to everybody else.
I mean, like it's like I want to help them out. I want to help the family out. That's
Right.
like again, I'm very
It's
family
yours to
centered.
give.
Yeah, and I mean, I could. It's not like if I give that money, I'm gonna be left with nothing, and I just starve to death. But anyway, going off tangent there. And then there's my brother, right? Who, of course, I still believe that there's still time for him. That there's always like time to just change and all that. There's always time to just like do a 180 in your life and just like move forward. But like for right now, right? Like right now, he's just picking the
Increasing
easy
his
life.
ancestors.
Like he's actually picking the easy life. you
Mhm.
know? And it gets to the point where even when like we're playing like video games and then I tell him like, hey, can you be responsible for this? He will chicken out from a task that I gave him, or at least a responsibility I give him in a video game, right? And again, there's a contrast where, you know, we came from the same family, but I was the kind of person who loved looking for like the challenges, who, you know, who loved the thrill of being in an uncomfortable position I'd rather not be in,
I'm
right?
justifying that position I'd rather not be in. But the great rise the devil, yeah.
To the top.
Hey man, you're the one who came up with it. You need to
Yeah,
love
sorry,
it.
this occurred to me. And yeah, and then there is my brother who's like 4 years older than me, who was conditioned to pick the easy way out in everything he did. So now doing the hard part is 10 times harder than for him, right? So, you know, again, there's the contrast of like conditioning yourself to do the hard things in life that becomes a whole lot easier.
I guess you could say that unbalance, off balance doesn't matter. I'm better than you, yeah.
I guess you can say that, yeah.
Dude, one of these days you should literally just say it, but say it like that. And you'll be so busy trying to figure out what is going on that he won't even be able to get upset. But yeah, I mean,
How about
and
you? I'm pretty sure
but
you've known like, you know, some people who,
yeah,
hey, probably some people that you know in the past who, you know, wanted life easy and now it's a super hard for them.
yeah. I think the best example that occurs to me is uh, there's a guy that I've known since we were in kindergarten, and he's had every bit as much potential as me. You know, he was actually further along than me, like when we were teenagers. He was in great shape and such. I was still the shut in. I probably weighed, I don't know, maybe 125 or something pounds. And, I was, uh, honestly, by my standards nowadays, I was a loser. And like, I actually looked up to him at the time, honestly. And then time went on, and long story short, now he's like really, really out of shape. He ended up having a kid with a woman who, like, I think he's like, now they're engaged, but it's like it's obvious that
She's
they're
not a
mostly
happy.
together because she's the baby mom or whatever, and like, he's kind of, emotionally bound in that sense. And his he hasn't lived up to his full potential. And the thing is that he knows that, even if he won't admit it out loud. And the only time that his intelligence now comes into play is when it comes to making excuses or arguing his way out of the situation. His favorite thing to say is, well, I know that. I already know that. It's like, okay, but you also know that you aren't doing anything with that knowledge. And that's the thing, is that, again, like you said, you can always choose to turn things around. But if it's half-hearted, particularly when you've been going the wrong way for a while, it's just not going to happen. And you can't. It goes back to what Einstein said. You can't solve a problem from the same place where you created it or whatever it was. You know, he still has that same attitude, and I mean, his attitude's gotten a little bit better, but it's still like he's still not trying to take chances. This is the guy that I told you that I was willing to pay for his ticket to CA and help him fly out, and take care of all the lodgings and everything. And he just didn't want to do it because he said, because I don't belong there. It's like, dude, you're never going to belong any of these places if you don't decide that you will. And granted, like, he's not a marketer. Like, he's doing honestly the same kind of stuff that I was doing uh, before I got into copywriting. But it's like it doesn't matter because you can always start. And the thing is like, you know, he would mention that he
Uses
has, oh, he
technology.
has the family and such. It's like, dude, it doesn't fucking matter. I had to walk everywhere. You had a car. Like there's always an excuse. There's always, like we said in the other, you know, the other session of the podcast, there's always a way to rearrange it so that my life is harder than yours. You're from the Philippines, so it's harder to you know, to get English straight. I'm from America, so the money that I make doesn't go as far. Like everybody can play the game. Everybody can always play the game. Doesn't matter. You know, the people, the poor here don't know what it's like for their homes to be made of corrugated metal. Rather, you know, like even the inner city, they still have real fucking buildings. They still have running water. It's, they can take it for granted. A cold shower for them is like the horribleness. It's like there have been people who don't even have access to enough water to take a shower. That's to do your
Yeah,
Asian shower nonsense, your Asian bath that you
the
like talking
Asian
about.
bath, the pail in a bucket.
So that's probably the best example of it, is that like, dude, he had everybody as much potential as I did. And again, he was making use of that potential more than I was for a number of years. And then he just stopped. And he could start it again. And I wanted to help him. But there were so many times when I tried to do it, and you
Yeah,
can't change somebody's mind about wanting to feel better or be better. They might lie, they might try to go along with it, but if they're not, then they're not. And uh, I mean, this is a whole different thing about like not trying to save people and whatnot, so I won't go into that. But yeah, and I've known a lot of people who are smart, naturally smart anyway, and who just they just use all of it to just dig deeper and deeper holes. And because people don't
yeah,
understand that the
yeah.
more naturally intelligent you are, the easier it is to delude yourself, and you know, the more you can fend off people trying to help you out.
You know, there's also like that's actually I don't know how to just say it. I could bring up my brother again. My brother's
Go
like an
ahead, I don't give a
extremely
fuck.
smart guy. Like he's an extremely smart guy, right? Like people would say that if back in like at least in high school, since we grew up in the same school, right? uh, like he'd get good scores even if he didn't like study that much, or that uh, in most cases when a problem gets presented to him, he'd have like a sharp answer right at his feet, right? And even when he plays games right now, like for some reason, if it goes like if it starts like talking about maximizing stats and all that stuff, or like actually knowing the meta in a game and all that stuff, he'd know it down to the teeth, right?
Yeah.
And like even when I talk with him, yeah, he is actually very smart, right? Yeah, it's just that there's so much waste potential because again, he's been so conditioned to live life the easy way, right?
Well, he's conditioned himself to
I've
live
been
that
like
way.
also yeah, I mean I've been like giving him like throwing lots of opportunities to his alley where like for example one where there was a chance for him to like take up computer science like coding for free, where he'd have to pay for his course the moment he gets hired. So it's like, yeah, it's a flip the script, right? You pay once you get hired and all that stuff. And it was hard for him because he hadn't coded for so long that he just dropped it completely.
Gotcha. Uh,
Right.
by the way, are you checking the comments? Because I haven't seen anything since. Uh,
All I see here is stretch stretch
okay,
live.
stretch life's last thing you saw. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't, that if we're getting screwed by Facebook in terms of comments again, that it's both of us. Um,
Right.
yeah, man. I mean, it's again, it comes back to all that other stuff that about the potential, that it's not that It's not just that certain people are inclined more towards it, because I've had times when I was just, for me it was fiction, just climbing back into fiction to make things more comfortable when I was younger. So it's not a black and white thing where you're either this or you're that. It doesn't work like that. It's neuroplasticity is a thing. You possess the ability to change your habits to by changing your direction. If you're in a ship and you go in a direction, you're going to end up where that direction heads. If you change your course, you're going to end up where that direction is going. That's where change your heading and you change where you're headed, you
Mhm.
know? But people
And
act like there's an expression which you can't control the wind, but you can adjust the sails. And
hmm,
that's how it works, is that there are so many
that's a good
circumstances, and we went
thing.
over this
Yeah.
before about like there's always an excuse, so I won't harp on that. But uh, the the notion of focusing on the external is the biggest problem, because by turning yourself into a leaf on the wind, you remove your mental power strength to change it, because a leaf has no muscle, it can't do anything. But that's not you. You're not a leaf on the wind, you're a person walking down a windy street and the wind's like trying to blow you off balance. You can lean against a wall, you can turn around, you can get in a car, you can get in a bus, like you can just be like, whatever, I'm not going to do it, and just widen your stance and keep going. Like you still have control over what
Yeah.
how you respond regardless of what the outside circumstances are. But
Right.
people who want to feel better always turn the thing attacking them into a god, because that takes away their responsibility for not acting in spite of it, because they're powerless in the face of its almighty will. You know, you can feel the malice probably dripping from my voice because I just don't feel sorry for people like that. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not nearly as nice as some other people.
definitely.
But I hate
Right.
because I care. You know, it's like
Yeah. I mean, like, I've helped people who are like that too, right? Like,
tried to.
uh,
Anyway.
what's that?
You've tried to help them anyway,
We've
because
tried to help them. Yeah, I have tried to help them. Like recently, I was like kind of doing this mentoring for someone who's trying to get into copy, or at least trying to improve his copy, right? And I actually did like give him the time where we'd hop on weekly calls, right, for about 2 hours or so, where I
damn.
just give him copy feedback, I just give him like direction and all that stuff, what he could do next. And man, you know what he told me? He was just doing it to,
What? You
you're
want to
not
get
gonna
with you?
believe this.
You wanted to get with
What's
you?
that?
You're going after that
What's
Chris
that?
Cato?
Man, I was like so lost for words when he told me about it because he admitted it. Okay. He told me that he was doing it to get some chicks.
Copywriting?
He wanted to like make it wait. And this I think is something that really like encapsulates the whole feel better than actually do better. Because when he posted on social media, because every single time he finished, right, he posted on social media because he wanted to like prove it to himself too.
I can
And then I was like,
feel.
okay, go ahead. I mean, like there's
Yeah,
there's
that's
some
fine. The
accountability to it. It's fine. You
the
can use it
posting
as
thing.
accountability, right? And then, like you said, right, I'm just doing it to actually feel better about myself, to actually
Feel
think that I'm
better.
doing something. And for some moments when I was like getting messages from girls who followed me, it felt good. Felt
Mhm.
everything. But then I told him, have you ever actually thought about doing this for yourself? And he told me that,
Oh,
straight up,
because
he
they
just
just want
told
a
me,
sugar
no.
daddy. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like just like like your guy who just, he just wanted to fucking impress chicks. It's funny because Lana said money status, obviously. She likes giving me shit, so I don't know. She was just giving me a hard time. Like, why didn't you understand that the copywriting is supposed to help with that? Or if she was like remarking on like the appeal of it. But it's funny because money and status usually is all you need to get a trophy wife. You know, just like being hot, but you could be like a horrible, horrible person. Like the guy doesn't care as long as you can freak. So it's like, most people are just shallow as hell. But it's also hilarious for me because you know how little I define myself in terms of like pursuing romance. And it's just like, oh, like I want to impress.
Right.
It's like I don't give a fuck about impressing girls. And what do you know? There are a lot of girls that like talking to me because I'm funny as hell, and because I'm not trying to get in their pants. Go figure. It's almost like not defining yourself in terms of something so shallow is appealing to people who are not stupid. But yeah, fuck that guy. I mean, I don't know. Like again, it comes back to I think you're definitely I don't know if I'm getting this wrong, but like if you're thinking like the yin and the yang, like I always think of the yang as like the harder force, but I don't know, maybe that's the softer one. I don't know. But like you're whatever the softer force is, it's definitely you because I'm literally just I always make the joke of like
You just go
Saruman
hard
from
at
Lord of the Rings. It's like you have chosen death.
it.
I think I actually made a Facebook post about it a while back where it's like me when anybody does virtually anything less than amazing. So you have chosen death. But I mean, that's how it is, dude. And that's just like the be better aspect of me, just like being in overdrive. And I don't, I just can't get it. I can't get people who are pursuing that stuff for like a dumb reason. Same thing as the people who, they're like there's nothing wrong with owning up to your achievements and such. It's honestly something I've struggled with more than anything else because
Yeah, I
the
saw
game
your
I want to
post.
be
That was a
playing
great
is so
post.
high end that everything beneath it feels like nothing. But there's also like a point where focusing on that can be detrimental to reaching that. So it's, it juggles around. But whenever I see people patting themselves on the back for every little thing, need to share every little win they've done, or they're like, it's like, oh, like I'm the sexiest man at this, or I'm a, this, that. And what it's like, dude, like it's obvious what you're doing. You're just trying to make yourself feel better. Because if you really were that confident or that strong or that capable, you don't need to tell yourself that. You just know. It's the same thing as people who like arbitrarily try to make like I'm gonna use this as an example in this case, but like people like doing that whole thing where like every single woman in a movie now is like a badass who knows martial arts or something because we wouldn't want to, admit that like most chicks or like most guys like they're just normal people and they don't have like special skills. Like they would get fucked up in like a difficult situation. So um but it's like one of those things where you can tell the difference between someone who like it's just a really cool story and the person who becomes the badass. you know they just have two chromosomes that say X. It doesn't matter what sex they are. But then you see the other one where it's like strong female empowerment and she's just like this generic fucking character that like nobody cares. They're like the Captain Marvel where it's like, they don't earn
No.
it. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
they don't earn it. And the thing is, like, pardon me, yes, you do. Rebecca, you're not a typical chick. And that's why I say that. The thing about people is that real life strong people go through real life difficulties. Having to adapt to that because they choose to be better versus just feel better is what makes them stronger. And that is what makes them badass. But when you make somebody badass just to have someone who's badass representing this group, they're not a badass because you probably are not a badass because a person who's really badass doesn't feel the need to create the notion that, oh, these people can be badass too, because they already know it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I
And
mean?
like, you know, I mean, it's not that people are like, have toxic masculinity or something, or like they hate on women empowerment, right? Because like if you think about it, there are lots of like female characters out there that we actually think are pretty badass. Like, for
Buffy the
example,
Vampire Slayer, still my favorite live action show of all time.
right, and also that girl from Alien. Holy crap, I forgot her name.
Ripley is what they always call
Ripley.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, Ripley, right?
But
She's
again,
badass.
the first movie, she's scared out of her mind just like everybody else. She just has to
Yeah,
throw into the occasion. Yeah.
yeah. And then like, people loved her performance, loved her character. And again, it's not that, that was like back then where, people would say that uh what's the word I'm looking for? They're less censored, right? Because,
It was definitely
and
less
almost
censored.
anything flies back then, right? But
Right.
then they loved her. They weren't complaining that, oh, she's a girl. She shouldn't be that strong.
Because she
So
was a
yeah, it was
strong actual
her.
character. Yeah. Like the
Yeah,
journey
she
made
was
sense.
strong. Yeah, exactly. And that's what, uh it entails of like actually doing something and earning that kind of like status, right? Being conditioned to be that person, right?
Right.
Instead of like just feeling like you're that person, even if you haven't actually done shit to feel that way.
Well, that's the best example of it. Is that the people who are just made to be this strong insert blank character, it literally is just to feel better because it's somebody saying, this person's really strong, but it's like they're not really strong. They're just, they're a nuclear bomb with boobs. You know what I mean? That's like, dude, that's literally is what it amounts to. There's no person in that. And you compare that with just any other character from like throughout the years, no matter what their arbitrary characteristic is, because that's another thing, another reason why it's dumb to me. It's like for this representation, this is completely off point, but I'll get back on point soon, is that like individuals are strong. Groups are not. Groups are just collections of individuals. And so if you are really a badass or if you're really a cool person or whatever, it doesn't matter what arbitrary thing defines you or doesn't define you. What other aspect is there? It doesn't matter if your chromosomes are XX or XY. It doesn't matter what your pigment is. It doesn't fucking matter. But because people who don't want to put in the work, I guess there is a way of chatting this back. It's my the history of me making the Asian jokes has given me the ability to be able to tie anything back into something that I want to. People who haven't done the work but want to feel better about it just write it off and say, "Here, we're like this now." I know kung fu. And it's like, okay, but you can tell that they've never even been in like like a Mick dojo in their life, let alone actually
Yeah,
know martial arts. you know
yeah, yeah.
So it's like, and no, Lana, I'm not taking a dig at you because Lana is actually, she started going to a fucking Shaolin like school to learn that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, see, I acknowledge people when they do actual stuff, just not when it's bullshit. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I kind of went off on a tangent there, but we brought it home.
We brought it home indeed. Anyway, so how do we wrap this up? It's like 6 more minutes.
I
Time.
mean, another thing that occurred to me when I was initially putting this stuff together was the notion of how people who are trying to stay comfortable don't want to experiment because experimenting is scary because there's the chance that it won't go well, often a very significant chance early on. And the thing about it is when you think about it, when you think about it, joy is way better than just feeling safe. You know what I mean? Feeling accomplished is way better than
Yeah,
feeling safe. There are so many much more. It's like eating real food versus like a candy bar. Like you just feel the difference, right?
you do.
Like you eating your rice as opposed to a candy bar. Hey man,
Right.
you're the one who always
Yeah,
talks
let's
about your
identify.
rice. It's all fair. All's fair in rice and war. But it's you can feel the difference.
Yeah,
And once again, the people who are focusing on staying comfortable, not only are they making their lives harder, not only are they giving power to outside circumstances to determine if their life is going to be comfortable, but they literally are experiencing less of the emotional spectrum of like positive feelings. because they never are comfortable enough with themselves to stop looking around like a squirrel for the next thing that's coming at them to experience that joy.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's
that's,
true.
it's a huge part of it.
Yeah, I mean, like I noticed, right, just a few days ago that if my week's shit, if I feel like I've been slacking throughout the whole week, I just feel bad. Like my confidence actually rock bottom, right? Like I feel it when, let's say I feel like I haven't done that much throughout the week, and then like I drive to my girlfriend's place on Saturday morning, right? I don't even like feel like I should be driving there because I didn't earn it,
Hmm.
right? It's like I'm not confident in any way, and it shows too, right? When I talk to her, it just feels different. But when I've gone through like a hell of a week, and I know for myself
You
that
got the
I've done
pump.
all I
You
can,
got the
and
pump.
I hit the
Pump.
pump, and I know for
Pump.
myself
Want to work out with me?
that I know for myself that I've done everything I can to the fullest extent. When I go to her, when I drive to her, I actually play like the music I play is even different, right? When I'm driving to her, when I'm like sad and all, I just play sad music. And then when I
He's dying in
drive
your arms
to her,
tonight. Must have been something you said. Just
but when I
imagine
drive
you
to her
sadly just.
place,
No.
I don't even sing along to any of the songs, right? But when I know that I've had a good week where it was tiring as fuck, but then like I did all I could, and I worked to the bone. When I drive to her place, I just like play like the songs that make me want to like jump around and actually sing along. And I guess again, I could have like felt differently if I even if like I made it look like I was doing something.
Yeah. Well, because again, the be better aspect of it,
Yeah,
and that's the
it's just
dark
like
side of it,
it's
is
like
that
a
it makes
facade,
you feel
right?
worse. Yeah, because you know
Mhm.
that you
Let's make
didn't
you
do
feel bad.
whatever.
Let's feel yours. Yeah.
Yeah, even though it's not a significant enough difference that it should have mattered. Speaking of significant differences that shouldn't have mattered, I know this for once I'm not about to be shitting on you. Um, and people getting, ignored because of a compulsory obsession with positivity. Becca commented, pardon me, yes, we do. I think it was when I was talking about like girls and stuff like that and fighting and so on. And I'm pretty sure she was joking because she immediately followed up with, "I will karate chop you." Unfortunately, in the metaverse, you are not allowed to be sarcastic and you're not allowed to be clever, which is why she literally got the comment claimed because it went against the community guidelines. Dude,
What?
if you don't know how to interpret "I will karate chop you" as a joke, find your boulder, and not the boulder that we talk about, Chris, and go back and live under it because that
Go
is,
back to the womb.
dude, we'd better hope that their video tracking technology is not up to par, because if it is, we're gonna have to like re-record, or we're just gonna get kicked off the Facebook Live and just have to upload it to YouTube, because the woke episode is definitely coming, and it is
Uh,
going to be biblical. It's going to be
what?
biblical. It'll be biblical. But
Right.
yeah, I guess in the notion, like you mentioned, of wrapping up or whatever, I mean, I can go on and on, but I also don't want to go around in circles, which would increase the habit and make it harder to not go around in circles. Um, but the big aspect of it is that, sorry, it's funny, somebody just messaged themselves using their own names in Slack. I don't know. I work with interesting people. Um, So
All right.
the thing about the comfort zone is, again, it is all about maintaining something that by the act of trying to maintain it, that neediness actually just tears it apart. And you remove your ability to control it by focusing on the external to maintain it. And at the same time, even that positive feeling, that safety that you're trying to feel, you feel less of because you're just permanently afraid of everything. Because that's why you're seeking comfort as opposed to seeking joy, which are two very different things. So, yeah, I mean, that's honestly like the basis of what I was trying to focus on. You know, it's people are, you know, they act like kids when they're doing that. They're honestly just being animals, except not cute. And um, you know, people are just not cute. Same thing with babies. I freaking hate the way babies look, but I digress, like usual. Babies are just not cute, and we as a society need to stop pretending like they are. Okay,
All
they
right.
look gross. They look gross. They look like an overstuffed chihuahua that instead of being like that super skinny alien looking thing, they just look like a big mushroom of like potato fatness. And then it's like the only thing that they do is be loud, make things smell, and wake you up in the middle of the night and try to kill themselves by chewing on things that they shouldn't be putting in their mouths. So there you go. And cost money. Anyway, and as usual, I digress. But that's the whole thing, is that people who are still trying to stay in their comfort zones until the end of time are really just, they're squirrels, but not cute. Again, like babies. You know, they're trying to do the same thing over and over again. And that's why they think and act like animals, because they're literally are just, they're Homo sapien. They are the evolution of the old world monkey that we physically are, and they're nothing more than that. And they crap in a ceramic bowl, and they think that makes them different. On to you, good sir.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so I guess we can wrap this up with again that
Anyway,
saying. Anyway, right.
I was trying to
Actually,
give you
still
the
love
chance to
this
say
saying.
something.
What was that?
I was
What's
trying
that?
to
Oh my god.
see what I have to deal with. See what I have to deal with. Okay. Well, did you have anything that you wanted to mention now that you understand why I said
All
over to
right,
you?
there we go. Not actually found it. Do not pray for easy life. Pray to be stronger men. So yeah, that's John F. Kennedy. Uh, and I actually remembered this. I remember like hearing this quote from Call of Duty 2 Zombies. But then it actually stuck. Actually, funny enough, it's stuck with me. Like throughout like college, right? Like I always say, like, you know what? I'm not gonna pray for an easy life because an easy life will never come.
Yeah.
It will never come, right? Even if like you're rich as hell and that you own your own business and all that stuff, it will still be there will still be some hard parts that you need to get over, right? It might not be financial, it might not be, status and whatnot, but it could be stuff like in your family with like, with handling expectations and all that stuff. Uh, the battle within yourself where, you might sabotage your own goals because of what you naturally do to yourself, how you look at things, right? And yeah, pray not for easy life. Pray to be stronger men or women.
But pray to be stronger persons.
There we go. Pray to be stronger persons.
Persons,
So that
you know, it
counts for
applies to everything, and it just
2022.
makes it funnier too by being more dramatic. Yeah, it's by seeking shallow comfort, they forfeited deeper fulfillment.
Yeah.
Bam.
Beautiful. That's
Quote
so beautiful.
machine activated. Okay.
You gotta post
So,
that on your code of the day.
thank you for joining us, Old Sports. And remember, I forget.